Filler. Hey, switching topics, in home design, the modern farmhouse look is absolutely exploding right now. But if that stark white style has you craving something maybe a little more approachable, you will love what my next guest has to say. Designer Oviatt is here to tell us about a softer take on that stark white modern farmhouse trend that we all love and that we obsessively crave over each and every week on that show Fixer Upper. I have a feeling this updated style, though, would still be Joanna Gaines approved.
I think so. I mean, it very much still feels very approachable, very lived in, and really sort of welcoming, which I think is kind of her signature theme.
Yes, you're calling this feminine farmhouse, but first I have to ask, why fix something that isn't broken? What's wrong with the traditional modern farmhouse look?
Because I think that it's very harsh. I mean, we see modern farmhouse and it's very high contrast. So whites, a lot of white mixed with navy and dark charcoal and these metal fixtures and fittings that are very stark. And I think people aren't used to that. I think maybe the younger crowd really loves that. But a lot of my clients are looking for something that is kid-friendly, that is warm, and that maybe is a little more enduring. So that's why I love this kind of the shift on the farmhouse trend.
So here's the compromise. It starts with that color palette that you mentioned, moving away from the stark navy meets white to more of a calm palette.
Absolutely. So that is kind of the most recognizable feature of the modern feminine farmhouse trend, is that instead of these really high contrast colors, we have softer palettes of this aqua blue, still lots of white, but greens and sort of those natural tones that evoke country living. So I love the soft palette.
Still welcoming, still warm. What else really screams this style? You point to the textures that kind of are a distinguishing mark.
So as we're looking at these pictures that I'm showing you of a job that we did this summer, the texture is really the key. So washed velvets, worn linens.
That's gorgeous.
Not a lot of pattern, but you can see just visually that these textures have a lot of appeal. So quilted fabrics, embroideries, but things that really are worn and distressed and loved, that look very approachable.
So pull away from the pattern, but play up the texture. That is a gorgeous, gorgeous design. You say you can also make the new look old to tap into the farmhouse side of this look.
Absolutely. So nothing is shiny in these pictures that we're showing you. Everything has a little bit of that patina. So when you're thinking about your cabinets and the case goods, meaning tables and cabinets and things that you bring into your home, think about things that are not so sleek. So maybe your TV console might have a little bit of that rustic edge to it. And I'm not saying that your cabinets have to be, you know, so distressed that they're giving you splinters, but think about things that are just more chunky and more solid. So when you're picking your crown moldings or any millwork that you're thinking about doing, don't do fancy crown. Do board and batten or shiplap like we've seen before. Elements that are more casual.
I've been surprised. You mentioned shiplap, and that's the buzzword, right, with this farmhouse look. I have to admit, I've been surprised at the longevity of this particular style. It's been around for a while, and women are still loving it.
Yeah, it's great. The way that I like to use shiplap is not so distressed, but something that you can see the vertical planks or the horizontal, however you're doing it, but it's painted in a nice, sophisticated sheen. So to me, again, it's more enduring than something that's really beat up, really hammered. I think it gives that nuance of detail and architectural style to the home without feeling so trendy.
You've taught us, and I see this in all of your gorgeous designs and projects, that a theme or a look should carry through the home. How can we pull that off with this particular feminine farmhouse look?
Yeah, well, I tell a lot of my clients that I work with, and you'll see the same thing in these pictures. It's like holding a bag of dice. Every time you roll the dice, you have a different combination, but the palette of color doesn't change. So as we're going to show you in these pictures, you'll see different proportion of color being used. Some rooms have more white, less blue, other rooms more white and more tan with that, or more brown with that or something. But what you're seeing is the same repetition of that color, which I think in these open concept floor plans really makes it work, because maybe on your light fixtures in your cabinet hardware, you're thinking, okay, our two finishes are going to be, you know, black bronze and satin nickel. Don't open that formula up. Really tailor yourself and keep yourself to a certain combination of color and finish as far as your hard finishes go.
Am I right in saying, and this is what I think I'm seeing, that the color, though, is played out in some substantial pieces, like the cabinetry or the rugs? Where do accessories fall on the color palette? Are those more neutral?
No, I think they have to. I think accessories are what make and sell the design. So accessories have to be, they have to give you energy and life. And again, nothing too moody when it comes to this feminine farmhouse idea. It's things that are really welcoming. So tones of green and gold and blue and even that straw color, it still feels very welcoming and fresh. But I love the idea of kind of playing up the farmhouse feel with like bird feathers like we showed you, or botanical pictures. They just, again, without being like so obvious, they give you this beautiful sense of nature and bringing outside in.
I notice you've carefully stopped just short of saying the word country.
I know.
Is that a swear word in this conversation?
It's not like 1980s country where everything was like black and red, but I think all the comforts and the reason that the country trend was so big for such a wide range of people was because it is warm, it is welcoming, and for me, maybe this is like the new country trend.
The new country trend. She said it, but it's beautiful. I mean, it's stunning. And I have to say, even though the details you described are somewhat subtle in the differences, I feel a huge shift when I look at those photos. There's a very different feel than what we're seeing play out on some of the DIY shows.
It really is, and I think it just boils down to developing a softer palette of color and really carrying it all the way throughout. Still having a lot of fun. A lot of what we showed you in this house is very on trend, very current, but just used in a softer, more livable way.
We got a sample here. I know you're sharing more of the design details on Instagram.
Yeah, so when this show airs, later that day, we're going to do the paint colors that we used in the house. We worked on this house with Elite Craft Homes, and it was such a great experience to help them with the furnishings. But we want to kind of give you guys a little bit more of a sneak peek into what we did.
I love it. We'll be dialing that up. Where do we find you on Instagram?
So it's Oviatt Design Group.
Okay.
And that will link you to all of our different links and
Looking
sites.
forward to that and sharing paint colors. That's a huge gift.